So I'm going to speak this morning about a very precarious and challenging and difficult situation faced by many of the people I encounter. So I forgive me for the rest of you. I really want to address those individuals, parents who have small children in the house and their partner, spouse, whoever is a gaming addict. And I've seen this moms who are addicted and dads who are addicted. So there's a framework thinking about surviving in a household with small children. The demands are many. They are more than any one person could possibly fulfill. Lots of things go undone. Personal care has to be set aside when there's a newborn in the house to make sure the newborn thrives. A lot of people don't understand the magnitude of the situation, having not raised children themselves. Plus, there's a backdrop of patriarchal thinking that, oh yeah, the mom should do it all, and that seems to be peeling away, but it's still there. So I like to go through this mantra to kind of wake people up. And I mean, everybody anywhere near a situation where there's a household with small children. So going out and getting the groceries, buying them, bringing them home, and preparing 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, that's more than a full-time job. Add taking kids with you as you engage in that process, getting them in the car, getting them out of the car, hauling it all around. Um, Cleaning a house, particularly a household with children crawling around on the floor, 7 days a week. That's many hours of work. Taking care of one small child 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is an enormous responsibility. Enormous. That's without even talking about your needs. Plus, you have to do this thing called parenting, which actually training them how to talk, how to engage with their world, teaching them their numbers, their letters, keeping them safe, educating a child. So the responsibilities of an individual with a small child in the house, they're lasting consequences and they are enormous. And children are made by two people because it's a two-person endeavor. And if you don't believe it, you're living in some sort of delusional reality. It is way more than a full-time job. Way, way, way more. So if you don't have a healthy partnership with your partner, that's pretty common. That's a pretty common experience. And that creates many, many difficulties. Now, if you are cohabitating, if your partner is an addict, that's a crisis. That is a crisis because there's no margin there already. To begin with, there's no margin. And then you have someone who's not participating in family life. They are acting like a child, stealing from their small children, stealing from you day in and day out. And it is a source of frustration that's criminal. It's absolutely damning and horrifying. And it's the loss and the damage is huge. So when someone says, you just don't know how to relax, and the person they're accusing has an addict in their life, and that addict might be a workaholic. There's a lot of ways to be an absentee spouse and an absentee parent. I see a lot of workaholic parents and overworked spouse and addicted children. There's definitely a triangle going on there. So it seems quite accusatory to look at someone who is drowning in their responsibilities and tell them, uh, accuse them of being unable to relax. It seems impossible when you've got small children. So that said, I'm going to read today's reading. Take what you like and leave the rest. Take what you like and leave the rest of what I just said. I would stand on my words. I feel I am standing on very firm foundation in everything I just said. And I will give you some clear guidance of how to exist and thrive in an impossible situation and be at peace and relax. So here we go, July 16th. One of the wonderful but unexpected benefits of working the Anon program is learning how to relax. Until now, most of my life sped by in a frenzy of activity. School, work, projects, obligations all helped me focus outward. That way I didn't have to rest long enough to feel how frightened my home life was. There is nothing wrong with working hard and producing results, but I was abusing these activities. They were socially acceptable ways to deny my feelings. Both family and society supported my hiding behind them until, beaten down and exhausted, I reached the doors of Al-Anon. By the time I couldn't have relaxed if I had wanted to. I didn't know how it was done. In Al-Anon, it was suggested that I would not treat anyone as harshly as I treated myself. I would never ask someone I love to go without rest, never letting up, and never having any fun. But that was exactly what I asked of myself. My sponsor helped me to learn what gave me pleasure and how to take it easy. Now relaxation is part of my daily routine. Today's reminder: hard work can be terrific and my activities highly rewarding, but I am striving for some balance. And today I will look at how I spend my time and set some of that time aside to relax. And here's the quote: the time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. And that's Bertrand Russell. There's such heartache embedded in this. Such heartache. So first things first, I'd like to say to you who are raising small children and the addict has divorced themselves of their responsibilities, that this is just a moment in time. It's not going to last forever. Raising a small child is an incredible privilege. And I would say to you, you're cashing in on all of it. You get the whole thing. That person is absent. There's blessings and beauty and joy that they're missing out on. And they may be missing out on all of it, but you're not. You're not. You are the recipient of all of it. And you've got to see it that way. That at this moment in time, you get all the joy, blessing, and hardship of raising those children. And that's how you've got to see it, because it's not going to last forever. There may come a point in time where the addict gets better, and it may be after the children are grown and flown, but it's going to happen. And they're going to be incredibly sad about what they've missed out on, because you only see two once, you only see 3-year-olds once. I mean, once it's gone forever. You can't get it back. And they're missing the boat. So at that point in time, the child may have just grieved their entire childhood for that parent. And it may be that they move in with the other parent You may be separated, divorced, whatever at that point in time, but they're going to engage with that parent that they've been missing that whole time. And that's a normal part of the process. So what I like to remind people, we're not living in a fantasy world. Nobody lives in a fantasy world. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the story of your life. At this moment in time, you get everything, and there's going to be a point in time where you perhaps won't have a whole lot. So cherish, value, invest in, appreciate, enjoy what you've got. Cherish it, knowing that this is a surplus that's you're not always going to have. And I really like to say, ask God for the strength to get through it and thank God daily for the rich blessing you have of a child in your house. All right. That's the attitude. You got to get a hold of your attitude, and you have to hold on to that attitude that is grateful, that sees very clearly from God's perspective what it is you have on your table. I mean, you've been tapped for a blessing for whatever reason. You're the sole nurturer, caretaker, whatever for that child. Now, how to relax. If it's a baby, you sleep when they sleep. Center nap time around resting, get everybody to kind of be still and quiet. Those little ducks you have in your house, we all swim in the pond together. We do things together. So we eat together, we rest together, we clean together. It is an absolute stunner to realize the extent to which you can train kids, very small kids, to participate and help. Work like a team. That's the thing that the partner isn't doing. They're not part of the family. They've abdicated that responsibility to a greater or lesser degree. I see, it's on everything I say, it's on a spectrum. So take my words, reflect on your situation, and figure out where you are. Don't magnify it. Address exactly where you are on the spectrum with these problems. And you've got to live strategically. You've got to you've got to carve out some time alone away from those kids. That idea of, a bow and arrow, a bow that is always under tension will snap. So you've got to find some personal time. It doesn't matter what it is, you've got to figure out how to find it. And I can't, you've got to look for it. Look for something in a consistent way where you can get some space just to physically kind of, if you're nursing that baby, you actually need your own body. And on the subject of body, if you're a mom, yeah, I get it. So the kids are on you all day long, and he's maybe he goes to work, comes home, games all the time, and then guess what? He wants access to your body. Like that's a no bueno. That's not how life goes. We're not, you're not created to be servicing everybody 24/7 without any compassion for yourself. So don't let those words slide off of you. Let them slide onto you. You're not here. You're not anybody's personal slave. You're not an object to be used. So you're to be cherished and respected and honored in all things. And motherhood is one heck of a sifting. That's a hard walk. That's a hard walk. In the difficult times in my life, I've looked to see the unrealistic expectations that have been placed upon me. So I'm going to get personal here. My husband works 6 days a week, and on Sunday, that was his day off. I realized the newspaper and this and that and the other, those things were things that took him away from the family and enabled him to be negligent. So canceled the newspaper. It wasn't in the house, certain things like that, but not really not interested in cooperating. one time I was getting the kids ready to go to church and there was just no help. He was sitting in the living room reading the paper, and I'd really had it, with the unrealistic expectations placed upon me by him. So I got in the car and went to church, left everybody behind. I prayed about it. It never happened again. I never had to be the one to get 3 pairs of shoes on 3 kids. I mean, there was help after that. Of course, he slacked off because he's, lazy. But we all have options and ways to cope and ways to respond that are in our arsenal. Oftentimes we don't recognize what they are. So this is where going to a 12-step program online, even getting a sponsor, will help you strategize. You need to find someone in a like situation who goes, oh yeah, that I had to deal with that. And this is how I worked through it, because you're shot. You're worn out. Your ability to problem solve could be slim to none. And you actually need somebody else with eyes and ears on the situation who've been through it before to help you be successful in your particular situation. You need that intimate understanding. So I'm saying an awful lot here. This is the subject you could write a book on. Yes, we need to relax. You're a human, you're not a robot. In spite of everything you're told, including by, the pastor at the local church. But these are difficult. This is a difficult subject. These are difficult issues when you've got very small children in the house. Do not underestimate the challenges involved. And then my mind always pivots, because I worked in a children's hospital, to those of you with disabled kids or special needs kids or a kid with Down syndrome and they're a toddler. These are enormous, enormous responsibilities. So the God of my understanding expects me, has a realistic expectation about what I can and can't do. It's human beings that have unrealistic expectations about what I can and can't do, including myself. So on this Sunday, I just want to put that on the table. And you've got to find ways to think about your particular situation so that you can live in it in a reasonable way. So if you're a parent and you're single parenting, I would encourage you to consider yourself as the recipient of tremendous privilege, tremendous blessing. God has deemed you worthy of raising these kids by yourself. And that's quite an honor. And God will enable you to do it with grace and love and charity. Blessings on your day.